A rat who can cook makes an unusual alliance with a young kitchen worker at a famous restaurant in Paris, France.
Hi, I'm Andre.
I'm Michelle.
I'm Emily.
And I'm Luis.
And we are the Walt Vault, a family-friendly podcast where we get silly and talk about Disney movies. Hello and welcome to the Walt Vault, episode 15.
15.
On today's episode, we are talking about the 2000 and, what year was it? 7 film Ratatouille.
Ratatouille. Can't wait.
Yeah. It's
Ratatouille.
going to be exciting.
You know what?
Boom.
I can't wait to actually eat ratatouille because I would need to know what it tastes like because it looks delicious.
Oh, right, the food.
Yes.
Yeah.
What did you think? I was going to eat the movie?
I was just about to...
Thought you were going to eat Remy.
Yeah, I was just about to explain
No.
that. Like,
Yeah, for a split second, I thought you were going to say rats.
I would
but
never
then-
eat Remy. He's so cute.
Yeah, okay.
the movie is called Ratatouille, and I think since it's a rat main character, a lot of people think that Ratatouille is his name.
Yeah.
It's
If you
not
think
his
about
name.
it, there's not really any mention of Ratatouille until the last 30 minutes of the movie.
Right.
So it's interesting that they picked that as the title. But Andre, since you picked this movie for your birthday month, why don't
Yes.
you give us a little rundown on your first impressions and why you picked this movie?
First impressions. Oh, great. Sorry, I just burped.
Okay.
Oh my God.
My compliments to the chef.
You're
For
welcome.
the coffee. Thanks,
Oh,
Em.
I gave you the coffee and the red vines. You're welcome.
Yes, thank you very much. Hashtag always snacking. I love food. So when this movie came out, I don't remember seeing this movie for the first time. It's just sitting in my mind as having always loved it. I don't think I went to the theater to see this necessarily even, but I truly can't remember. But it's a great movie. I love that. I just love the whole concept of a rat cooking food, and we'll get into it later. But like that whole thing about rats specifically touching and preparing food is
gross.
Is very disgusting.
My one problem with this movie is that there are rats in it.
Okay.
Yep.
Like, that's my
Yes.
first impression because everything else, cool.
Right.
One major issue,
Rats.
rats.
There's a lot of rats, and there's a lot of scenes where all the rats are grouped together and moving in unison, and it's super duper freaky.
That's Luis's first impression.
All you need to know is that there were multiple times in this movie where I was scared like a child, but as an adult, knowing what those rats are and where they've been and all that,
Right.
where I literally looked away from the screen. Didn't watch what was happening.
Oh,
So the whole concept
Interesting.
is very funny and awesome to me. I love this movie.
good.
Good for you, Andre. You
I
picked it. I'm glad
I have
you
a lot
like
to
it.
say about this movie that you guys probably won't agree with me on, so that's why I'm keeping quiet.
Well, what's
Well,
your first impression then?
Why are
My
you
first
keeping quiet?
impression is that this is my least favorite Pixar movie.
Interesting.
But that's why I had only
It's not your first
seen it-
impression, Lou.
Yeah, it's my first impression.
Boo.
I had only seen it maybe once or twice. Like I don't remember it that much. And to me, the movie starts off very, very, very slow. And the last hour, it picks up. The last hour of the movie, I love. It's great. But other than that, for me, it's a bit slow. And I do have one other issue that we'll talk about later. But I do love Remy. He's freaking adorable. The concept of the movie is really great. I actually really like all of that. It's just there's so many Pixar movies that it happens to not be my most favorite one. I don't dislike it. It's
Okay.
just not my favorite one.
Gotcha.
All right.
Okay. Emily?
She
My-
said hers. It was
Well, it's funny. I've never seen this movie.
Okay.
This is my first time, and I'm going to say really liked it.
Yes.
Really, really liked it. It was super cute, and there were some funny points, but overall, like I said, rats.
there's rats,
Rats.
for
Whoa.
sure.
There's a
Like,
lot of 'em.
pretty much the first scene
Oh, where they're
Well-
all hanging out.
when the old lady shoots
Infest-
the thing down. I thought I was gonna lose it. I was like,
When
if
she
it-
shoots
When
down the
shoots
ceiling and they all fall
chandelier,
down.
and they fall out of the attic.
Ooh! I'm gonna throw
Oh
up
my
as
God.
we're talking.
Yeah.
It was gross.
So that's my first impression. If we could take that out of it, it was a fantastic
It's so
movie.
funny because even when you're talking about the rats cooking, like at the end where he needs help in the kitchen,
Oh my God,
all
stop.
the other
No, not yet.
all the other
I
rats
haven't
come
recovered.
in. Okay, anyways, Andre was like, "No, they're not Remy. You guys are normal rats. Remy's not a normal rat. Get out of the kitchen."
Get out of the
That's
kitchen,
what he said. He said
please.
Remy is sanitary. The rest of them unsanitary.
Y'all nasty.
Because Remy's like a sassy rat. You know, he's high class.
Louis, give me your sassy first impression. Sassy rat.
You got to look past the ratness and think of the greatness that this movie is.
Hashtag greatness, not ratness.
Wow, that was deep.
Greatness, not rat.
Okay, so what I have to say about
Get it off your chest,
I have to
Michelle.
get it off my chest
We
right
can tell
away.
she's not. She can't do it.
Because I have to talk about the thing that bothers me the most about this movie. It's a great movie, but sometimes things go unexplained. I don't understand how Remy pulls his hair and it moves his body.
Okay.
I agree with you on that one.
That's
also agree.
I think I almost can't get over that, and is why I almost can't enjoy it as much as I wish I could.
See, that's the problem.
It bugs me.
It being me, I need everything to have an explanation. And
I need that to
understand-
have an explanation.
I understand where you're coming from, but you just got to look past that. And that was tough for me.
Right.
to
Is it
say
just he's a
and
magic rat? He
accept.
just pulls his hair and like I'm not gonna say if Andre pull my hair, pull my hair, do it
No?
lightly. My arm did not move. Everybody,
Because he pulled it lightly.
I don't.
Have
I
him
don't
pull
think
the
that's
shit-
why.
Have him pull your hair, and your left arm is probably going to swing up and try to hit him.
I don't know.
True.
But is it going to make you cook well?
I just don't know if he's a magical rat
Can
that
I-
can control bodies.
Yes,
Can
so-
he only control Linguini's body? What if that rat was on top of my head pulling my hair? Would my body do the same thing?
He
These
did.
are things I need to know.
That's a very good question. I was thinking about this the entire time that we saw it because like this is the hardest conceit of the entire movie, right? That like okay, he's a talking rat. Number one. Number two, he's
But you can get past
Talking
that.
rat doesn't
exactly.
bug
You,
me.
you can get past that.
Yeah,
Which
that's
is
fine.
ridiculous.
Number
Like, that's
two-
something we can get
Number
past.
two, he's a talking rat that absolutely loves food and is a tiny chef. Okay.
Wait a second. Oh no, he's a talking rat, but he doesn't. The
Oh
humans
yeah, he
don't
doesn't.
hear
He can't
him.
talk to humans.
So that's
true.
why it doesn't bug me. It's just like any other movie where the animals are talking.
Sure.
The humans
Okay.
can't hear the rat. He just
But they are-
squeaks and nods.
They are still like extra normal rats. They crafted boats and stuff like that. And
Well, and they totally are communicating with one another. As much as I love, like, my animals and things, like, I communicate with them about surface things, but not like, would you like me to add more Parmesan?
right, yeah.
See,
Yeah.
my master? No.
That's true. His little nods are cute though. He's like, mhm.
So he's a talking rat that loves to cook, and he cooks by controlling a human male with using his hair.
These are the things I can't get over.
And they don't explain it
At all.
At all. They don't even attempt to explain
The only
it.
thing that
No.
they say, and I was waiting very intently for it, was he said, it's, oh Lord, it's an involuntary movement. That's
Right.
what he said.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, because I told Luis, I said, well, you know how like the doctor like hits your knee and your leg involuntarily moves out? You have, as it said, is involuntary. You don't have control of your toes
Right.
when your leg is kicking out. So that, like you're saying, that's hard to
Still,
believe.
it's a
reflex.
stretch.
No, what I'm saying is you're correct, because if you're going to move my hair and my arm's
I'm
going
not
to
gonna move.
you're not moving my fingers,
Right.
which is
Yeah.
picking up and very delicately like
Yes.
Yes.
salt baying.
I
into
think
a soup.
I needed like him to be a magical rat
So
or something.
what they do instead of explaining it, they just show it happening.
They just let you do it,
and
like
and
They're just like,
they
"Here it
just,
goes."
They just let it happen, and they keep letting it happen, and they let it happen in a very funny way
until
you know?
you believe it.
Yeah, until you
Yeah.
believe it. Basically, they're like, okay, well, here's Remy controlling Linguini in his apartment. He's gonna smash some eggs. He's gonna drip wine all over the place. He's gonna smack himself in the
Hilariously.
head. He's gonna throw a frying pan out the window. And it's like, oh, okay, well, this is hard to do, so I guess that's fine. That makes it the reason that it exists.
Well, and I wonder too is that I feel like Linguini doesn't understand why it doesn't work. Or, excuse me, why it works, because he
just
can't
goes
explain
along.
it. He doesn't know.
Right.
Remy doesn't really know either. He just kind of did it one day and it worked
And it
because he
happened.
doesn't want to be, Linguini doesn't want to be bitten anymore or
Right.
like run all over.
That's why
Yeah.
he's biting his chest
Yeah.
and stuff.
Oh God. Colette doesn't know why. Like he can't even explain it to her why it works.
No.
So they just kind of let you like
It
like
just
just believe
is
that and
there.
run with it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which
which
is-
I have an issue with.
Which is interesting, and I think works for the movie. But
Mermaids are real though.
all right.
And they love people.
Yeah.
And they tell their dads about it.
Yeah.
Daddy.
I love Remy though. Let's talk about Remy because Remy. One of the things I like the most about Remy is the juxtaposition of his character when he's like talking to the other rats and he's talking, but then I love Remy even more when he's with the humans and he's not talking and he's just body languaging. Like he's so cute. Like when Linguini had him in the jar and he was supposed to terminate him in the water, and he's just like he looks like a little dog there.
Right.
That Remy doesn't gross you out as a rat, right?
Remy got saved by cuteness.
No,
He's
Remy
very
on
cute.
his own, by himself, doing his
He's okay.
Remy thing.
Washing his little hands.
Being a Remy is perfectly
Okay.
fine. But his brother and his brother's brothers, you know, the brother,
Emil is so funny
All those
though.
dudes.
so gross.
Yeah, they are gross.
Especially the more, it's almost like compound effect. Like, one rat's fine. 2 rats, him and Emil, okay. More than 2 is like a problem.
When you
Pushing
see the
it.
whole
Exponential
colony.
makes you want to.
Emily was the exterminator or the inspector that opened the door and lost his you know what and ran away. Emily would have
Even
fainted.
worse is when the inspector gets tied up and thrown into the like deep freezer.
He's like
of
just
the-
looking at the other humans. He's like, no, no.
Poor
that-
Colette. She's like, I'm just going to ignore this.
Oh my god,
Colette is the realist because I couldn't have handled that either.
I wouldn't have. I
Oh.
would have. I would have.
Well, first
Colette
of
went
all-
back and then
Yeah.
was greeted by rats.
Even worse, right?
Yeah.
The first thing was bad enough. Like
Yeah.
you have a rat
There's
controlling you,
a rat in this restaurant, and it's cooking all
And you
the
know,
food.
and then she comes back, and now there's 700
There
rats.
are millions of rats in this restaurant,
at least 700
and
rats.
they're all
Like,
cooking the food.
his colony has to be enormous. The whole thing that, and I get it now, which kind of upset me, is that when Linguini told, you know, the cooks that, okay, this is really what's happening, and they just straight up left. In my head, I was like, that's kind of mean. But then also, I can't even believe that a rat controls his head, so I probably would have done the same thing.
No. Take yourself completely out of the movie. That's probably the
Right.
first realistic thing that Disney/Pixar has ever done in their entire
And
life.
they don't come back at the end.
When
No,
that-
only Colette does.
When
Well,
that
and that's
scene
what-
happened, I was like, okay, coming from the perspective of all these chefs, I completely agree. I
would
definitely
have left
Well,
as
and
well.
don't you
Walked right
kind
out
of
of
like
there.
want to give them some props, like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
animators, and the storyboarders and everything. That is actually honest.
Yeah.
Real people are not okay
'Cause
with an
Linguini is
animal,
crazy as well.
let alone a rat,
rat.
in a kitchen.
Yeah.
But
in a
that's not even
five-star
the whole
restaurant.
thing. The fact that he was telling everybody, this rat controls my head and my
Oh,
body
I was just thinking
movements."
about the animal, not even the fact that he's
Right,
like
not even like
loony.
the-
And he
crazy
shows
part.
it to them and everything. But
It's
to
just that
me,
this
if
dude has been
somebody
carrying
told
a
me
rat
that,
around this restaurant this
I
whole
would
time.
I would think he's loony. I'd be like, I'm gone.
I'm
Goodbye.
shuddering every time we think about this.
Yeah.
I wrote this down because, like, okay, so I think the main problem that I have with rats specifically being in the kitchen is because, like, they carry disease, right? The
Yeah.
100%.
The
Oh, yeah.
plague was a
Bubonic.
pretty big deal.
In Europe.
And exactly. So I wrote down Ratatouille, The Great Mouse Detective, and The Rescuers/The Rescuers Down Under. Also Chippendale to a lesser
Are
extent.
they all in France?
They're all European.
Yes.
What does this mean? European rats, the plague, discuss.
Oh, I never even thought about that. But
That makes me see. That's even worse.
Right.
See, now you've made it even worse for me.
why are all the
Okay.
rodents in Europe?
All the rodents are in Europe.
But they're all like superhuman rodents. So this tells me that they somehow survived like all of this time. They're like extraterrestrial,
Yeah.
bubonic-y animals.
They're mutant rats.
Maybe they're X-Men.
But what if
What
if this movie had taken place in New York and they were like New York rats?
They would have been Italian.
Okay.
I'm
That-
Italian. I can say that.
That big rat, that's a New York rat.
Oh yeah, for sure. The
That
giant.
is-
Are we
rat.
talking about the rat that has the
He has the
earring?
tag.
Yeah.
FYI, did you see what was on the earring
No,
tag?
I didn't say.
A113.
Ah.
I
I didn't even notice that.
I didn't
But
notice
wait,
that
was
either.
that a tag or was that like? I thought that was like a bling because he was like the big bug.
Well-
No, because he had gotten caught, right?
It looked like bling because it was like goldish,
Right.
but it looked like the tags that they put on animals like
That they
like
capture and use
cows
for,
or something.
for experimentation
Yeah.
or whatever.
That's
What,
hilarious.
They experimented with what?
That's,
Steroids?
that's probably why he's
Well-
so big.
Birdie got his roids on.
Speaking of experimentation, I was a psychology major in college, and so what I found to be the most hilarious part of this movie, which I didn't even know it was actually a fun fact, I just thought it in my brain. Skinner is the little tiny chef,
The angry.
the angry
Right. Not
chef.
Remy. He's the tiny chef. But
He's the
little
tiny chef.
You can't say little chef.
Yeah, I'm sorry. He's not the little chef. He's the
Small chef.
he took over Gusteau. Okay, so the head chef
Yes,
of
head chef.
Gusteau before Linguini. His name is Skinner. B.F. Skinner is a psychologist, a famous behaviorist, which I work in behavior therapy. He experimented all of his behavior therapy first on rats. This guy had tons and tons of rats, and he did science on rats. So it's hilarious to me that his name is Skinner, and he's obsessed with the rats the whole time.
The whole
He's
movie.
convinced
He's the only
that
one
this
onto
rat
it.
is super smart, and he's trying to catch him. He's trying to do all this. So the whole
Hilarious.
time,
Technically, Skinner's the only smart one in the whole movie because
He's the only
Yeah.
one that catches on.
he sees it immediately. He's like, "There's no way this kid can."
but
cook."
it's so funny to me. And
he
I
must be
thought,
using a rat.
yes, and I thought the whole time they have to have named him Skinner because of B.F. Skinner, and I looked it up, and that is why they
Oh
named
my
him
gosh,
Skinner.
that's too funny.
So, fun fact for you, which if you're a psychology major like me, I thought that was freaking hilarious.
That's too funny. I really like that actually.
So yeah, maybe that rat that had got caught was actually experimented on by B.F. Skinner. We'll never
Well,
know.
there you go.
Possibly.
Well, speaking of
Possibly.
another famous-y person and cooks and things, one of the things that I found really funny about this movie was that Colette, when she was talking to Linguini about all the different cooks in the kitchen and all
Yeah.
of them, they all had like some really funny backstory. Like they were all like burglars or been in prison
That was
or
funny.
whatever,
Right.
right? And apparently, do we all know who Gordon Ramsay is?
Yes.
The British angry
Yes.
chef dude.
Yes, Hell's Kitchen.
Yes.
Top
He
Chef,
was
is that
he
him
supposed to be the
too?
guy with the thumb?
Well, hold on. Listen. So apparently, in real life, Gordon Ramsay challenged a prison cook to an onion cutting competition, and the inmate won. So Ramsay immediately offered him a job at one of his restaurants when he was released,
Wow.
and he went on to go work there. Right, and it was at one of
Oh,
his
interesting.
high classy restaurants.
That's
And
awesome.
it's funny because the head chef, or what was he called? The sous chef.
Sous chef.
The sous chef
Horst.
kind of looks like Ramsay, just a little bit.
a little.
He does a little bit.
And they asked him, what, and they were like, he's done time. And they're like, what did he do time for? And they're like, the story changes every time. And so people on the big old World Wide Web, think that is a callback to Ramsay because he brought someone out of prison.
Right.
That's
To
actually
cook.
kind of funny.
Isn't that
I like
Anyone
that.
can cook.
Anyone can
Anyone
cook.
You go, Gusto.
Even rats. Speaking of rats again, Emily, did you appreciate when the rats went into the kitchen? We're saying this again. But Remy
Why?
looked at the sign that said employees must wash hands, and then he sanitized them in the steamer.
He put them all in the
Oh.
dishwasher.
That was heck of funny. I very much
so
enjoyed
funny.
that. But the first thing Luis goes, he's like, they still rats. He was like, nah, they still rats. I don't care what you put them in, they still rats.
Okay, so we're watching that scene and I'm flipping out and I'm looking at him. So I'm like, all right, we just got to go through this. We just got to go through this. And we're going back and forth like, oh, no, we got to pause. Oh, no, we're done. Oh,
Yo, grossed
we
out.
literally just were doing those noises for about a good maybe 10, 15 minutes until we got past that scene.
Oh, I bet. And you know
They
what's
still
so funny?
rats.
Because I'm such an animal
Nah, they rat.
such an animal person. None of the rat stuff like that bothered you guys, like the fact that they're rats. None of that like bothered me. I was like, oh, cool, rats.
Again, it's not so much that it bothered me like when Remy was just doing Remy's thing, didn't bother me, or
Right.
a meal or whatever. Even when
Go
he was like
for
in the
it.
garbage or whatever, it didn't bother me.
Be a rat
it
in a
was,
big city.
Yeah, perfectly fine. It's when they all would move as the what are they called?
unison,
Colony?
as one,
Yeah, as a colony.
Like, let's take it back to the beginning of the movie. They were in their colony was in the
The attic.
attic of some old random
house
Lady's house.
in the country. Yeah.
this lady. Now, first off, I have a problem with this lady because
Okay.
she was some crazy, like, got some shotgun shells hidden up in her, like, vases and stuff.
Yeah.
She was like shooting them. She didn't care that she was like ruining her house, shooting them up, and literally the attic falls in, the ceiling falls down, and
That was disgusting, I will admit.
hundreds and
Rats
hundreds.
fall and they shake a little bit as they land. And
When they're
they all
running
start
out of the
moving.
windows of her house, it looks like water. Just
And
like,
I literally
whoosh.
told Luis, they need to not do that again in this movie, or I will stop. And number 2, that is my worst nightmare. Like, I didn't
Rats.
even know that was my worst nightmare until I saw it, and
Right.
that literally went up to my top of my list. Worst nightmare.
Disney
Boom.
Pixar movies should not be giving you your nightmares. you
Right?
know?
Yeah,
they should
yeah.
be taking. They should like be giving me some solace. Like no
Okay,
solace. was
I
had.
feel you on the rats there. Then I feel you.
When they're all in the kitchen, like in the food area, the pantry, when they're in the fridge, getting all the food.
And they're popping out of the little out
Yeah,
of the cheese.
they're like hiding into the
In the
beans
cheese
and stuff
holes.
like that.
Andre straight up was like, "Yep, kitchen's contaminated. Get
Kitchen is
out."
contaminated.
You
Y'all
should see
all
me
nasty.
holding myself right now. I just cannot.
That was
let go.
before they washed their hands. That was before they washed the rats,
It was, and then they cooked with it.
no.
and then they cooked with all that food. Gross.
It's fine. Don't think about it.
Gross.
Don't think.
And
about
this is still Andre's one of his favorite
Don't
movies.
think
Favorite
about
movie.
it.
But I think, and that's one of those things too. I was thinking the entire time, as a kid, it's whimsical.
Yeah,
you know what I
this
mean.
is just fun.
Totally whimsical. It's definitely my
Whimsical
adult.
rats, yeah.
It's definitely my adult brain taking over, and is like, oh my god.
Oh.
Because FYI, our favorite characters in the world are mice.
Right.
Yeah, but they're like,
No, but
They're
bring
mice.
it down. Mickey,
he don't
and
look
Minnie,
like a mouse.
mouse.
They don't look like
they
mice.
mices.
Do you know what I'm saying though? Like you can characterize something and it makes it really whimsical and cute, but as
Right.
an adult, ooh man,
Mhm.
those
Yeah.
very lifelike rats
Okay.
Yeah.
be
Okay.
killing.
Mickey and Minnie wear gloves. They're fine.
Okay. That's true. They do wear gloves.
That's the difference. You put on some gloves, you do whatever you want.
I have a question for you all because I have a very specific answer for this question, but I want to see if you guys do.
Okay.
What's
See-
your favorite like scene or / moment in this movie?
I have too many.
Too many?
There were some funny things.
I have one specifically.
Okay, what's
Do
yours?
you have
then?
one?
Yeah, there's some very funny stuff in this, but my favorite scene in this movie is actually like the super serious one. It's when Ego is taking a bite of the ratatouille.
Are we
and
going
it
there already?
Immediately jumps
Oh.
him back to his childhood.
Oh my God.
By the
Agreed.
way, which is it's super emotional and it hits real hard when that happens. But by the way, that house that he walks into and his mother is like cooking for him, it looks a lot like the house that Remy and all those rat friends are
grandma.
living in.
Yeah.
in
Oh.
the movie.
Yeah, it did.
Was that old lady Ego's mom?
Could have been.
Totally could have been. Luis thinks so.
Yeah, that shotgun must have been in the house the entire
Also,
time. That's why he's all weird like that.
He is a messed up dude because he got
Yeah.
threatened with that shotgun one too many
That's
times.
right.
Speaking of the grandma again, or the old lady that lives in the house, she looks a lot like the old man who plays chess in the Pixar shorts.
Oh,
If you look at a picture of them side by side, like their face almost looks exactly the
you
same.
mean the guy who fixes Woody in
Yes.
Toy Story 2?
So I think they might be like
Yeah.
brother and sister or something.
No.
But that scene
Ego's dad.
that you're talking about, I didn't think we were going to go there already.
Oh, okay. Go.
Like I said, the beginning of this movie is extremely slow to me, but those last like 45 minutes, I'm like, okay, there's the Pixar. That scene reminds me so like when I saw that scene, it reminded me so much of my grandma who growing up we would always go to her house, and she's from Oklahoma, so she liked to cook like fried okra, fried zucchini, chicken and dumplings, things like that. And that's almost like what the ratatouille is to me, like these foods that they make that are very nostalgic. Like they were saying it's a peasant food, you know, but
Sure.
the whole nostalgia aspect of food, like these foods that I had growing up that I won't necessarily have again because my grandma's not alive, so it's not like she can cook it for me. But that is exactly what I thought of, like in that moment.
Well, it's funny because I thought of two very different things. The first thing, I agree with you. My favorite food in the entire world, like doesn't matter what it is called a peasant dish. It's from Italy, and it's something that my family has made forever. It's
Yeah.
literally the thing I ask for every single birthday. It's called pasta fagioli, and we make it very specifically based on the area in which my grandparents came from.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, you can get it anywhere in Italy, but it's very specific to the area. So when that happened and it took him back, literally, Luis and I looked at each other and we're like, oh my gosh.
I started tearing up.
Like,
Yeah.
it was beautiful because I think every single person has that dish or that memory inspiring food or even moment that
It's
takes
just,
you back.
Yeah, and it's just like how smells are so nostalgic.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
The same thing happens with food, that like mental, emotional connection, which I really understand why people become chefs, because it kind of is like an emotional connection to say like, I made this for you and I'm serving it to you and you might like it so much that you're going to remember it forever and have that nostalgia feel. So
well, and it makes me think of like my grandma who like, well, both of my grandmas actually, and I think a lot of our just generation.
Generationing.
I can't
generational.
Thank you, generationally. Like our grandparents maybe didn't, like our grandmas maybe didn't work because you didn't have to have two people working. My grandma, her entire life was based on cooking for and taking care of the family, and like her dishes were her life.
Right.
And even
That's her
now when
job.
she presents it, it's like, this is dinner. And when we make dinner at home, we're like, eat some pasta.
That's
but
how my grandma was as well.
You know?
She lived in Sirius as well, but her backyard was huge, and every single vegetables and fruits that we ate, she made. Like,
See,
she
that's
had
so cool.
a giant garden full of zucchini and blackberry bushes and trees. And I remember being a kid, and she'd be like, go out in the garden and get it.
That was her.
And we would go out and
That's
get
so
it,
cool.
and she would make it, and I miss that food. Shout out to Grandma. You'd realist.
Shout out to grandma.
Shout out to
Yeah.
grandma.
When that scene happened, I wrote "Food is love."
Oh, speaking of food, your mama makes some good food, babe.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get that feeling every time I eat your grandma's stuffing on Thanksgiving.
No, my grandma best stuffing and gravy.
No, my grandma.
You want to have a
Awkward.
grandma gravy?
Ooh, can we?
Yeah, grandma gravy.
That would actually be really funny.
That would be funny.
You know, it's funny because one of my we have two family things. We have the pasta fagioli, and then we make cinnamon rolls in our like homemade or whatever. And one year, everyone wanted to make them, and I was like, "Well, let's do it into a contest." And they were like,
Ooh.
"Yeah, everyone will make them." And you know who didn't have to make them but got to be the judge? You're welcome. See, I'm smart. That's why.
That's how I'm
Came up
trying to
with the
live
idea.
my life. I don't want a cookie. Y'all make it for me, and
I will
test
judge
it.
you. I will tell you.
Hashtag always snacking.
But you know, the other thing that I thought of when I saw this
Moment.
with this moment, have you guys seen the video? It's called The Present, and it's like an animated short. And you would think it was done by Pixar or Disney or something. It was done by college students.
Okay.
And it's about this kid, and he gets a present, and his mom gives him a puppy. And at first he's like super in love with the puppy or whatever, and then he realizes that the puppy has an issue. Like there's a problem with the puppy. I won't tell you what the problem is.
Okay.
And he ends up falling in love with the puppy, and you'll see through the video. Maybe we can put a link to it or something, or just I'll post
we can
about
put a
it.
link to it.
Point being is when I saw this, the exact way that it's drawn is exactly like that video. And so it was interesting because I thought to myself, maybe that video was like tailored from like this movie because it came out in 2007. But I really enjoyed that too, and it had so much Pixar nostalgia. So maybe I'll have to show you guys that.
Yeah,
after
you'll
this.
have to show it to us.
Interesting, yeah.
But I agree with you, Andre. That was definitely, like I said, that was my favorite scene of the movie. But I'm going to go on a much funnier note.
Okay.
My favorite moment of the movie, which is actually the only thing I remember from seeing this movie the first time. When we said we were going to watch Ratatouille, I was like, oh yeah, the movie where the rat crawls across and then he looks down in the building and he sees these two people fighting and the girl has a gun in her hand and then the gun goes off and then they
That's
start
right.
kissing. And Andre was all, that's what you remember from the movie? I was like, yes, it is.
all
And
I
that's
took away.
freaking hilarious.
It's so funny.
So Remy's like running across this pipe, and he sees the lady with the gun, and they're like struggling.
They're
They're
yelling
getting
at each
down,
other.
and he runs past that apartment. The gun goes off. He has to go back
He
to
goes
see
back to be
back
like,
to
"What
see."
happened?
He has to make sure she didn't kill him.
And then they just start making out. The French.
You know what Louis said? Louis was like, huh, French.
That's exactly what I said too. Because I think they only put that in there kind of for like the dramatic French effect almost,
I
you
love
know,
it.
just like a little funny thing.
That's another thing that I
But
love.
that was
about
the
this
only thing
movie.
I remembered from the movie when I saw it.
So funny. So funny.
It was great.
Louis?
My favorite scene. My favorite scene, honestly, is the montage where Remy discovers how to control Linguini, and they're practicing
In their apartment.
Yes.
I thought that was
It's
so
very funny.
funny.
It's
and
very
cool. First off, because either Linguini's just a bird brain or whatnot.
could be,
but
honestly.
he-
Pretty bird
he quite
brain.
literally just like went along with this.
Yeah.
Has this rat in his head, pulling his hairs, doing all this, and there was one specific scene. Like I don't know what he does, but like something gets flown out the window and causes a car crash down below.
He throws a pan out.
Yeah, I thought that was hilarious.
And they're just like,
And then another one too was like the day after he takes Remy to his home. He thinks that he left. That
and
Remy
like
left.
took all the food.
Yeah, and no, he just went and made him an
He made
omelet.
him a little breakfast.
I thought that was
So
It was very cute.
cute.
Remy, I need Remy in my life. Like if Remy could,
He's a rat.
Remy could be my Nana. You know how Nana gives the Peter Pan people
Remy
medicine?
could be my
Remy can
Nana.
cook for me. I'll come home to like full-blown cooked meal, super fancy.
That's what you have Andre for. Remy
Yeah.
is a rat. Nana is a dog. Nana's acceptable. Remy is not.
I'll take a Remy. I like him.
Go ahead.
Oh, no. Go.
I was gonna say one of my favorite scenes. I'm getting weird, you guys.
Yeah.
Oh, is this a funny one?
Well, it's not so much funny as I'm getting weird because now that I feel like I have to like find like Easter eggs and stuff for the podcast, like
Oh, yeah.
for fun stuff. When I find one on my own, like not something that I'd heard about or whatever, now I'm like,
Yes.
Like you saw
It's a
it.
very
yeah.
good feeling.
oh my gosh, I get so freaking excited, and then I have to like go online and make sure that I'm confirming that I
That's
actually
what
saw
I did with
saw.
the Skinner thing. Yeah.
Right? Oh my god, I saw it.
Right.
So, when Remy is running through that same scene that you were talking about with the French people and all of that,
Yeah.
he runs through and he runs down a hallway where a dog is kind of chasing him.
Yes.
And you see the shadow of the
Silhouette of the
dog
dog.
on the wall, and it's Doug from Up.
Oh,
Yes.
Doug. I love Doug.
I love you, right?
I
love
don't
you.
smack you. And I love you. That's another one of my favorite Pixar.
So it was very cute because it was most definitely Doug. Like, absolutely no.
his
No
silhouette
doubt.
is iconic. Like, come on.
So that was
I love
really
it.
fun just because it was a cute little throw.
Yes.
I also enjoyed the fact that there was another call to a different movie here. In The Incredibles, there is, his name is Bon Voyage?
Bon Voyage.
There you go.
We
Thank
noticed
you.
this too.
Bon Voyage was in one of the scenes where Colette and Linguini were like running around being all lovey-dovey, like hugging on each other. They were on a bridge, and Bon Voyage was in the background
From The
doing his-
Incredibles.
yes,
Yes.
doing
he
his,
was one of the
his-
villains, which
doing
is
his
funny
mime thing.
because the director of this movie was also the director of The Incredibles. So, he
So I
kinda
thought that
put
was
it in
really
there.
cute.
Yeah.
To that usually it's just like a little picture or something, like we said, like
Right.
the A113. It's not like huge, but that was like an actual character like
Yes.
in the scene. Which
I
Walking
wonder if
around.
that was like one of his favorite villains he created or something.
Yeah,
Probably.
maybe.
But it makes sense because he's a mime, and that's kind of Frenchy.
Monsieur
Yeah.
Incredible.
Oh yeah, he was French. Yeah, there you go.
That's one of the things that I love about this movie is that it takes place in France, and almost every character has a French accent.
Yes.
The ones who don't have French accents are Anton Ego. He has a British accent.
Yes.
He's a very British old man. Then there's Remy, who has kind of just like an American
He just a
accent.
rat.
He's just a rat. And then Linguini himself, he kind of has an American accent too. But I think
There is something going on there though, because I hear something in his voice.
his full name is Alfredo Linguini. I think he is
Italian?
Or his mother was Italian.
Her name was
could be.
Renata,
Renata.
which is not a French
Renata
name.
Linguini.
Right.
Renata almost sounds
Renata
Hispanic.
Linguini. It sounds like it's going to be like a funny.
Renata.
Renata Linguini.
Renata
I'm not a
Linguini.
Linguini.
I will say that the voice of Linguini wasn't exactly my favorite, but the voice for Remy was quite.
You want to know
great.
what wasn't my favorite on Linguini? His
What?
schnoz. Couldn't have gotten
God.
any bigger.
It's so funny because like there's that scene where they're discussing if Linguini is Gusto's son, and they look out at him and they're like, there's not that much of a resemblance, but they have the same nose. Gusto has a
Yeah.
big bulbous nose as well. It's just that his face is so much bigger, so it looks a little bit more relative to his face. But on
Gusto.
Linguini, it's huge.
Oh my god, I cannot.
Whose name is an anagram, by the way?
It is an anagram.
Anton Gusto.
Auguste Gusto.
Augusto. Yeah, that. I was trying to say it backwards, but it would be the same thing backwards.
Yeah.
So that was silly.
Auguste Gusto. Gusto
That was
Auguste,
silly.
And on
It
and on
is.
it goes.
It is. Have you guys ever seen like the memes of movie? What is it like? Explain a film plot badly. Like they rechange the name of the title, like the title of the
Oh,
movie, so that
okay.
they're
Like a spoof kind of.
yeah,
Yeah.
So the one, this one's hilarious. The one for Ratatouille is Idiot Ginger and Mouse violate 8 health code regulations.
Oh my gosh. Way more health code regulations than that.
It's
I'm
supposed
sure.
to like explain the plot of
Yeah.
the movie, and it's like, wow, Idiot Ginger and Rat.
Idiot Ginger and
Break 8
Rat.
health code violations.
Oh, and let's be real, Linguini is kind of an idiot. So
Yeah.
he was an interesting character.
Not my favorite
Not my
protagonist.
favorite.
Right.
No. Well, Remy's the protagonist to me. But
Well,
I will say
yeah.
Remy kind of has a little bit of a temper. Like, I understand he was mad at Linguini because when Linguini kind of got famous for owning the restaurant now because they found out who he was,
Yeah,
and
he
he's
didn't-
in the cameras, and they're like, "What's your inspiration?" And he says Colette, and like, not Remy. Well, he can't exactly say like a tiny rat is.
But he could say, you know,
Isn't
my
it?
pet or something like that.
Yeah.
He didn't give him no credit.
He didn't, but then, Remy was immediately like, bring the whole colony.
But what was he gonna say? Like, I have a little chef. Like, I mean, it's creepy.
Yeah.
It is creepy.
I have a little
like,
chef. He
eh.
lives in my head, and he just helps me cook stuff.
He's in my hat,
That's the main
and
reason that I'm a good
so
chef.
yeah,
It's plain.
that's so creepy.
Well, let's talk about how great Colette is, because
I love Colette.
Colette
Spicy.
has to be one of my favorite characters on this movie.
She is so spicy.
Yeah.
So Colette, I did not know. I had no idea
She's French.
who she was voiced. Well, yes, she's
For
very
show.
French. I did not know she was voiced by. She's voiced by Janine Garofalo, who is a hilarious comedian from the '90s. Mainly is where you'll remember Janine Garofalo from. But I didn't know that she could do a French accent.
I think she did Daria, the MTV cartoon show.
Yeah, I think that was her.
I think that was her. Yeah.
I believe so. Yeah.
Grunge, like, almost punk emo cartoon character.
Right, yeah. But I know her comedy a lot, so I know what her voice sounds like, and I never would have put it together.
Oh, that's
that
cool.
she did this amazing French fiery lady.
And it was
person.
very French. Like, it
She
wasn't.
was very fast.
And it was beautiful. Like, it sounded so realistic, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah.
It was so funny, too, because Luis, it's so cute watching movies with Luis, because most of the time, and this is actually the not cute part, most of the time, Luis can guess what's going to happen in the movie before it happens. And I think it's because he's watched so many
Right.
movies, he just understands plots like that. And he'll literally, like, say we're watching a murder movie, and he'll be like, who's the murderer? And I'll be like, no, he's not. And then, like, totally ends up being the murderer.
Boom, twist.
Makes me so mad, right? Because there, in no way would that guy be the murderer, right?
Yeah.
Like, after 2 minutes of the whole freaking movie, and Luis knows. Anywho, but it was cute watching this movie with him because he discovered Colette's character as being the only woman in the kitchen right along with Linguini. Like, as he was watching it, he's like, wow, she was so mean at first. And then, Linguini started listening to her, and that's when, she really found interest in him. You could
Yes.
see her character blossom, and I was like, yeah. Like, it was just so cool because he watched it happen, and then he really appreciated the fact that she appreciated Linguini
Yes.
because he was listening to her.
Yeah.
And nobody else listened to her because they didn't think that she was man enough or
Yeah.
Men, listen
talented
to your
enough.
ladies.
Listen to your ladies.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't know why she isn't the sous chef or the head chef even, because she's
Because she's a woman.
the most
They
talented
kind of
person
made
in
that.
there.
She's like, I'm the only woman in this kitchen.
Wow, Michelle, you've been working on that, girl?
I think my Bayou accent's still better. But
I was
That's
pretty
okay.
proud of that, though. But no, she worked harder than any other person in that freaking kitchen. She knew everything up and down, backwards. She could, like, pretty much recite the recipes to you.
Yeah.
She was a really cool character. I really enjoyed
Yeah,
her.
You know
she
what?
was.
The best part of the movie, aside from the ego scene, is when Linguini is first going to attempt to tell her about Remy, and they're outside, and she's about to.
She's gonna leave on her
She's about to get on her
motorcycle.
motorcycle, and he's like being crazy in front of her. He's going nuts. He's like, there's a little chef is in my head, and so she starts pulling her pepper spray out of her purse.
she's like,
which
oh,
is
no.
straight up. Good on you, Colette. Protect
Good
yourself,
call.
girl.
Because Linguini's crazy.
He gets closer to her. She pulls the pepper spray up.
And Remy is like, do not tell her. And he just pulls her hair. Boom.
And
kiss.
so as soon as she gets kissed, she has the pepper spray in her hand. And then she's like,
Still thinking about it.
you know what? This is kind of nice. I guess I want pepper spray. But if she had liked him just like an iota less, he would have got sprayed so hard. Remy would have got sprayed.
Hard.
would have gotten sprayed.
And they're
I
very
think that is
opposite,
so fantastic.
very opposite people to me. So they're kind of like an unlikely couple.
Oh, 100%.
For sure.
She's smart, capable, talented. He's kind of like run of the mill.
Yeah.
Like, no offense to
Yeah.
him, but
Like
no.
they very well may be the same
He's a
age,
little-
but
little lanky
She seems
and-
at least 10 years older than him in
He's
maturity.
no run of the mill.
He's flaily and
below
lanky.
run of the mill. He's like the run. Okay,
gosh.
like on the dirt, and I mean that with the utmost love because he is.
Can you though mean that with
No,
the
really. Like, I mean, just
He's very mediocre.
He's very
You know why?
He's very clumsy.
Yes.
He's very like doesn't know what he wants. He's very like,
You know why he's like that? Because he's the first Disney character to be born out of wedlock. That's why.
Dun, dun, dun.
I'm just kidding. That's not why he's like that. But that is a fun fact.
Damn. So all of y'all.
Pretty sure he's not the first.
He actually, he's the first Disney character to maybe Pixar. I'm not sure, but that was a fun fact I read to be born out of wedlock. Or the first protagonist.
You know what's really interesting about him is that
Pinocchio was born out of magic.
Oh my
See?
god.
he wasn't
Hey.
born.
That doesn't count.
What
He was
about
not born. He's not a mammal. Thank you
what
very
about
much.
the three kittens from Aristocat? I'm pretty
First
sure
human.
there's no dad there. Okay.
Talk about classics. So excited for the Aristocat. Woo.
Emily likes that movie.
I love that movie.
We're probably watching that movie in March.
It's
Most
my
likely.
birthday month.
Okay.
Louis done now. He can't
He is
keep
done.
talking.
So I have another fun fact. When they were what's the word? Promoting.
Whistle work.
I said, "What's the word?"
Oh.
I lost my tongue there for a second.
Sure.
When they were promoting this movie, people didn't know how to pronounce Ratatouille.
Right.
So in parentheses underneath the title, they put Ratatouille,
Like
the pronunciation.
they phonetically spelled out Ratatouille
Oh, yeah,
so that
look at
people.
that. It's right on the poster.
Oh, yeah.
Ratatouille.
And I actually do remember that because I remember being like Ratatouille, Twil.
Ratatouille.
Yeah, I didn't know how to say it either, and then they put it in parentheses underneath.
I think it's fantastic.
Thanks, Disney.
Yeah.
That was helpful.
Well, I think it's because they didn't want people to like literally butcher the name of their
Right.
movie.
Can I get 3 tickets for Ratatouille?
I'm sure people still did that.
Well,
most likely.
Ratatouille.
I knew how to pronounce it from the get-go because that's the exact same thing as the city of Versailles in France.
Versailles.
So, Ratatouille,
Versailles.
Ratatouille.
Versailles. You don't pronounce the double L.
I took French in the 7th grade, so I knew what it was too.
Oh my
Shut up! You didn't take no French in the
I
seventh grade.
did take
He
French
did.
in the 7th
He
grade.
did take French.
Shut up! No, you didn't.
I did.
No, you keep saying that, but I don't think you did.
Je suis fatigué.
Whoa.
Je ne sais pas.
I
J'attends.
I said I'm tired.
Are we just?
I
saying
said
French
I don't
things now?
know what you
guys are
said.
hilarious. What
Un,
they?
deux, trois, quatre, cinq.
So that was cool that they kind of did that. I'm
I got
just
the 6.
ignoring him now. That was
Uno,
kind
dos,
of cool.
tres, cuatro,
Oh my
cinco,
god,
seis.
that's Spanish. Just
Thank you. I'm
Spanish. So that was kind of something cool they did when they were promoting this movie. But what they were going to do when they were promoting this movie, and I wish they would have. Not that it matters, because when did this movie come out? What year?
2007. You were alive.
Okay,
You were
I
kicking.
was alive, but I wasn't old enough for this. They were going to sell bottles of wine called Ratatouille with like a rat sticker on it, but Disney said no because we can't promote a movie with alcohol. But that was cool.
Which is very interesting because in
Shoulda.
this movie, Linguini
Oh,
gets
we were too young to
blasted
drink.
drunk.
Oh my gosh, he
City.
does.
He is so drunk.
He is wasted on wine. He's
I'm ready
wine
for him
wasted.
to like, which is a whole kind of wasted. Like, let me just say.
But it's also
Why do
funny.
they call it ratatouille? It doesn't sound appetizing at all. It
Sounds
sounds
like
like
rat
rat and
and
patootie.
But it's also hilarious because Skinner's trying to get him to say something about the rat, and he's like, "Do you have a parrot?" Nope. Hey, something about a rat? Nope. He's just super drunk. Nope.
Nope.
Which is funny because didn't we say in the Good Dinosaur episode that no one's ever gotten drunk? Definitely.
Oh, we were wrong.
They definitely
Yes.
got drunk.
We were wrong.
And that was straight up drunk too.
Right.
That wasn't like fermented fruit drunk.
No, that was
Unfortunately,
wine
the
drunk.
bottle of wine is gone.
He's like, this is the best wine we have. Well, you just used it on linguine
Hilarious.
and clams. Okay.
That's hilarious.
So this is one of those Disney facts that we haven't really said, but I think most of us know this, especially if you've seen Cars because they made a joke out of it. But John Ratzenberger
Ratzenberger.
has made an appearance in every Pixar movie to date. So he was the voice of Ham in Toy Story.
Oh.
The little flea dude in...
Oh, yeah.
Flick.
In-
Flick.
No, the flea.
Oh, the
flea guy in the circus.
I can't think of his
I
name,
can't remember his
but
name.
yes, I
the,
know.
that dude.
I thought it was Flick.
I know, no, Flick. No, not Flick. The sardines in, not the sardines. No, the sardines in Finding Nemo.
Yeah.
He was the mole guy in
Mr. Mole?
In The Incredibles.
in The Incredibles. He was Mack Truck in Cars. He was the He was the Abominable Snowman in
I love that guy.
Monsters.
Yes.
And in this one, he was the original waiter who was in Gusto's restaurant,
Oh,
who
yeah.
was like, he wants the special, but we don't know what the special is, right?
He was funny. I liked that way.
So I thought
Mustafa
that was
is his name.
who?
Mustafa. That's the name of the character.
Mustafa.
it's Mufasa.
Mustafa. So I thought that was really cool that he has played a character in every Pixar movie to date.
Every single one.
You know, really coming out and reviving these characters, which most people would have never thought.
Right.
I think that's really cool. And they actually made a joke out of it in, I want to say Cars. Was it Cars 1 or Cars 3?
I remember. I think I
Was it-
noticed it in Cars 1, so it might have been in
It
that
was like
movie.
in the ending credits, and like they were all at the drive-in movies, and then they were showing all of the movies that he's been in,
Oh.
and then Mack Truck like looks at him and he's like, "Wow, this guy's voice is annoying."
Oh my
Like, his
gosh.
voice.
So he's
Quite
like the
hilarious.
Stan Lee of Pixar.
Oh, totally.
Yeah,
Making
he's
cameos.
the cameos.
Which I think is funny because his last name
Oh,
is
super
Rat.
cool.
Sinberger.
Ratzenberger.
So there you go. Fun factoid.
That's fun. I like that one.
Yes.
Speaking of rats,
No
the
more.
scene. We're gonna do rats one more time, but this time they're dead. Okay.
Oh no.
Oh no, this was a sad
Okay,
scene.
so the scene where there's like the dead rats hanging in the window
Mm-hmm.
because his father's trying to tell him that humans are bad. Andre and I cringed and we were like, they would never do that in a real shop. Yes, they did. When they were in France, they went to France multiple times.
Who went to France?
The
The animators?
directors
Oh,
and stuff like that, you know, to learn about the cuisine, which I'll talk about too. But when they were there, they were walking around the town and they saw this poison shop that had the rats in the window like that. So that's why they put it into the movie.
That's crazy. Because when we were watching it,
I was like, nobody would do that.
Why are there dead rats in this shop window?
Terrible
This
advertisement.
Is so gross. Even if they're fake rats, that's not an image that I want to see walking down the street. You know. But
That's what me and Louie were looking at each other like, I hope those are plastic. That's disgusting.
it's so gross.
So I guess it was based off of a real shop.
So that's even more disturbing.
yeah, it is.
Like, it was
disturbing.
disturbing that it was in the movie, but
But it's
even worse
actually
that it's a
real.
real thing.
Yeah, gross.
But do you think it's because, like, I don't mean to be...
Oh, I just found a picture
Because
of it on
France
the
has a
internet.
lot
Is
of
it-
rats.
I was going to say, is it like
I think
a
so.
rat-infested city?
I bet it does have a lot of rats because France is kind of country. Like, it's countryside.
It's one of the oldest cities in the world, apart
Yeah.
from London and
Well, and
at
they
least
have...
in Europe. It's one of the oldest cities in Europe.
Well,
so
and isn't it one of the
obviously-
cities that has, like, the really intense sewer system?
Yeah, and they have a lot
Yeah.
of people buried under there because of the Black
They got
Death and
catacombs
all
and
that
stuff,
stuff.
Yeah, so I
there
imagine
are a
it's-
lot of
The
rats.
rats are
I
abundant.
imagine it has more rats than New York. We'll go with that.
Maybe.
Well, I mean,
made up,
it-
made up
knows?
stat.
I made that up. I said I imagine, but you know.
you know what, Andre? You can find how many rats are in France
Rough estimate of
versus...
rats.
I would hate to be the person that has to count them all.
43.86 billion
Let me
rats.
just go to the sewer and count all
We're
the
going to do
rats.
the rat census, thank you.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So, like I was saying, the director and the animators and oh my gosh, please stop. She's snorting. She's snorting. Emily is snorting.
They would be doing that census for years.
It's disgusting. Oh my gosh. Andre is.
I just looked up the 10 worst rat cities in the world. Oh man, this is like unfortunately it's a click-through article. But, let's see.
Gross.
There's a city in India. There's Rat Island and the Aleutian Islands.
Rat Island.
Rat
Well, there you
Island.
go, Rat Island.
Yeah.
Not going there.
No, sir.
No, I wish I could just see this all on the list instead of having to click all these things. Oh, hey, here we go. France. Rats showed no respect for famed romantic locales either. In 2008, Paris officials estimated the city's rat population had reached 8 million. And since only about 2 million people make their homes in Paris proper, that meant there were about 4 rats pounding the pavement for every Parisian.
No.
And that's a year after the movie came out.
Right.
So, boom, shaka, laka.
Yes.
So it was
They
very
got
appropriate.
colonies up in your attics.
Of
That's
rats
so
in
disgusting.
France.
Oh my gosh, I hate that so much.
Yikes.
All right, well,
It's There's also a lot of rats in London.
Should we go into Luis's battle after that note? Because I need to take my mind off of the rats.
Dun 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 dun.
Battle. Hit us with it, Lou.
All right. Well,
That's not rat.
let me
driven,
just go
please.
ahead and point this out before we begin.
Okay.
Let's skip the fact that Remy's a rat.
Okay.
Okay,
Oh.
for this particular battle. But who do you guys think is a better chef? Remy from Ratatouille or Tiana from Princess and the Frog?
Ooh.
Oh, these are two different kinds of
This is a
cuisines.
good question.
But
Oh, no.
you say it's two different types
Is
of
it though?
cuisine.
Because they're all kind of
French
That's right.
influence.
Oh,
Because
true.
New Orleans was so populated
Creole.
from the French.
Who is a better cook?
Boom.
I know my answer.
One's
Okay.
called a little chef, though.
I know my answer. So
One has a palace.
maybe I would enjoy eating the food more in New Orleans. Like I would think that that's more my style of food that I would want to eat. But I'm going to say that Remy is a better cook because I remember in the beginning of the movie they kind of said that he's a special rat. Like he's got a really good nose and just like a sense. Like he
Yeah.
almost has this magical sense for food. I kind of like to think
Yeah.
like through his nose, and therefore, if he can impress Anton Ego, I bet he can impress my taste buds.
Right.
So I'm gonna go with Remy because he kind of got a special nose.
They've got different abilities, right? Like Remy, he has a special nose. He can smell things to an excellent degree, kind of like Michelle's nose, actually. And,
He's smart. That rat
and
knows
is-
what he's doing.
and is able to combine them into delicious tasting dishes. But Tiana has an incredible work ethic.
Yeah.
And has probably just been perfecting that gumbo ever since she was a little girl.
And beignets.
Well,
know
and
what
the
I'm
thing
saying?
about Tiana is that maybe this. It depends on what you define as a chef. Now, I know that sounds silly, but Tiana has a magical way of bringing people together and, like you said, working for what she wants.
Right.
And I feel like those are both things that are very important in being a chef. Because what if you're like a really, really good chef, but no one wants to come to you?
Right.
Then who are you cooking for? I mean, I guess you're still a good chef, but
Yeah.
are you considered a chef? I mean, I guess, right? So it kind of depends
Interesting.
on which way you want to look at it.
Yeah.
And you know, it's funny that you bring up how, like, in the beginning when they first talked about his taste buds and his smell and stuff, because that was one of the cutest little parts of the movie where,
He's
like,
mixing the cheese
it's
and the
black in
strawberry.
the background. It's like no background, but then he like eats the little cheese, and you see like a little firework or a
Yellow
little
lights
He's
pop in.
swirl.
You know that feeling? I get that feeling when I eat the mashed potatoes and gravy and fried chicken from Disneyland.
The Crown Plaza.
The Crown Plaza. at
Yes.
Disneyland.
When he takes that bite and he's like, that's good. And then he takes another bite of another thing. He's like,
Green beans with
Mm.
bacon.
that's good. And then he eats them together and he's like,
Big Daddy beignet.
"Oh." That is what we call a food delicious feeling.
Is that what you call it?
That's what we call a food delicious feeling.
We will reference this moment in our lives in just a few minutes.
Yes.
When Andre tells you about something really special that will be happening because food, delicious feelings.
But I feel him. That is a very, very cute part. And my vote is still Remy. I'm going with Remy on this one. For some reason, I trust that rat's cooking abilities. I think he can make a magical concoction of just anything. If you told that rat, cook this, he'd be like, okay. And he's going to do it in a special way. Like, there's moments where he pushes the other chef's hands out of the way.
Yes.
Like, don't put that in there.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, this is how, like,
This is the
say they went
recipe.
to culinary school and this is how they were taught how to make it. But he can make it special and make it better and over the top. That's how he made that amazing soup that he fixed.
Yeah.
He didn't start that soup over. He fixed what was terrible already.
That's what Luis and I said. Like, he tried it and he winced. He was like, "Ooh, that's
And-
awful.
Could you fix something
That's awful."
that's awful? I
He
don't think
can.
you can. I don't think. Well, I mean, yes, in this movie he can, but
Right.
like in
'Cause it
real
was a
life,
soup.
I don't.
No,
think
I don't think you
can.
could. That's why my vote's for Remy.
I mean,
I'm
I'd
voting
like
Remy.
to ask, like, a chef and somebody who has, studied culinary arts. Can you fix something that it was made terribly
Well,
by
again,
adding
he'll
different
probably be
ingredients?
like, yeah, all you gotta do is throw that away and make it again.
Well, and I wonder, it depends on how bad, like, what was bad about it. If there was two conflicting flavors and you can diminish one flavor by adding something else, then maybe you can fix it. But, like, if you literally put sardines in, like your mama's
Ice cream.
ice cream together, like maybe not
It's
so
not
much.
happening. Yeah.
I don't know why it's your mama's ice cream, but it is.
Sea
So
salt. Sea salt will fix that right up.
see, boom,
Remy.
add some caramel. It's
Remy's
delicious.
the realest little chef.
It's called fish
Ever.
food, made by Ben and Jerry's. You're welcome.
Oh,
gross.
yum.
See,
Um,
did you say gross? It is definitely delicious.
so yeah, I didn't pick a.
You
I
said
didn't-
fish food. That's gross.
but that's the name of the ice cream
Ice
flavor.
cream.
Oh, JK.
Yeah. Anyway,
It's not called rat food. I ain't eating that. That's gross.
Blibble blip.
I'm
called
trying-
poison.
I'm trying
Poison.
to think of an answer to this question of Remy versus Tiana, and I think it's gonna come down to like I think I would enjoy the way Remy's food tastes more than Tiana's, but then I think I would enjoy Tiana's Palace a lot more than La Ratatouille, the two restaurants
Yes.
that they run.
See, that's what I said too. Like, I think I would
The
enjoy
culinary experience would be
Yeah.
better, I
Yes,
think, at Tiana's Palace.
Tiana's Palace.
But I still think Remy's the better chef.
So I'm gonna pick Tiana's Palace, Tiana, just for the whole experience of it all.
there you go.
Better chef,
Boom.
better atmosphere. Atmosphere is part of it.
It really is, though. I
I don't know.
Just,
I want to go to La Ratatouille. That
They
place
got
looks
rats
good.
upstairs.
I don't care.
They eating up there.
I'm ignoring that part. Louis said we're ignoring the part that they're rats.
Well,
He said you were ignoring the fact that Remy was a rat. He didn't say you were
Yeah,
ignoring the
he
fact that
didn't
his
say-
rat
And he
family
didn't say
is
what.
upstairs.
Listen, he didn't say what restaurant is better. He didn't say.
Excuse my language.
He didn't say what restaurant's better. He said who's the better chef. Remy.
He got his nasty cousins upstairs.
That wasn't part of the battle.
They don't wash their hands no more.
And this is the
They
part
get dry
where
cleaned.
now Emily and Michelle are arguing.
They rats though.
Well, what's your vote then, Emily?
I'm gonna say Tiana only
Ooh.
because I dig me some Cajun Creole food. I like the spices. I've never had anything with that type of spice cooked in those types of ways that I didn't like.
Right.
I have had some French food that I wasn't a fan of, but that doesn't mean that Remy can only cook French food. So I get that.
True.
But again, he's a rat. I can't let it go. Sorry. It's a cute movie. I'm all about it. He himself is really cute,
Yeah,
but
he's adorbs.
but
What about you, Lulu?
he probably does. He probably is a better
Back
chef.
me up
overall.
on this one.
Probably.
But for Emmy's taste palette.
Okay, so I think I will probably end up going with Tiana.
What?
Yeah, just because like I do-
Gumbo.
you know, as even though
Gumbo.
Love you some
what
gumbo.
she would
Jambalaya.
be cooking is very similar to French food. I just think Tiana puts more love into her food.
Sure. Yeah.
And that is a difference maker. I mean, I don't think Remy... I think Remy loves cooking.
He loves cooking. He loves
But
cooking for people.
I didn't feel like he put his love into the food.
What? I
didn't.
totally did. He risked his life going into that kitchen.
But
his
did
life.
he do it because...
I think there's a
Love
Because
difference.
he has
food?
such a passion
There's
for
a difference.
food.
Yeah. There's a difference between like passion and love, though.
He
right?
loves food. Otherwise, he'd be eating that compost pile junk.
But Tiana loves the people that she's serving
Yes.
food to. You know, she loves her
Whatever.
city.
I'm
I'm
she
sorry, I
loves all
can't
these
think of
people. She loves
anything
her
else but
family.
her like on that back porch and people coming up and eating her gumbo.
Hey everybody, I made gumbo.
Oh my god, I'm crying. It's so cute.
it's fine. I'm going
Love.
to stick to my Remy vote. It's fine.
That's fine. Yeah.
Are we ready to do...
I agree with you. He's probably the better chef, but I'm just gonna go with Tiana because
Yeah.
she's my new girl,
And
She girl.
she got gumbo.
She girl.
and I'm gonna assume she has jambalaya. So there
Yes.
Yum.
She probably got that.
I'm
too.
allergic to shrimp. I can't eat jambalaya.
Your life sucks.
Wow, we went there.
Switch it out for some andouille. You got it, girl.
That's true.
All right, that was a good battle, Lou. It was a simple,
Lou.
nice, delicious.
Ready
now
for
I'm hungry.
our voting ratings.
Ratings. Let's do
Oh,
some
that's not the
ratings.
song for that.
Ratings.
We don't have a
Ratings.
We don't have a rating song.
I think we need a rating
We
song.
probably need a rating.
Ba-da-da, ratings.
Okay, so in general, this movie it got a 96% on Rotten Tomatoes, very high. That's on the tomato meter. The audience score is actually only 87% from
Okay.
Rotten Tomatoes, and on IMDb it has an 8 out of 10.
Oh, pretty good numbers.
Pretty good numbers. So for my rating, I love this movie. There's a lot I loved about it. I didn't. On this particular viewing, Michelle pointed out to me that it is a little bit slow in the beginning, and I just did. Also, I was kind of sleepy. I think when we watched it too, we had to take 2 nights to watch it because
we were a little sleepy
because of sleepiness. So I think for that, just this particular viewing, I think in general, this is very high up on my list of favorite Pixar movies. But for this viewing, where it was a little slow at the beginning and I got a little tired, I think I'm gonna rate it just ever so slightly lower. So I think I'm gonna give it an 8.5 instead of something higher.
Very good.
Yes, good stuff.
Okay. I've
funny.
already expressed my issue with magical rat pulling the hair.
Magical mermaid loving a seed.
You know, that's fine. It's
Person.
fine. It's fine.
Oh, I didn't mention this. Sorry to cut you off, but I think that Remy is like Ariel, that they both love humans and want to be a part of
Their world.
Yeah,
human
just like
world.
Louis,
Yeah.
the
From
alligator.
The alligator.
Oh, I thought you meant Louis. I'm looking at Louis like,
Not your husband.
You want to be a part of my
Louis
world?
loves humans.
he
He wishes he could be one so bad.
Anyways,
If only.
I'm going to give this movie a 7.5. Like I said, it's kind of slow for me in the beginning, and I don't enjoy it as much, and I need some rat things explained. Like if if you were like, Michelle, pick a Pixar movie to watch, it's at the bottom of my Pixar list per se. I would pick something else. But do I like the movie? Yes. Do I love the last scene with Anton Ego and where they open the restaurant and everything like that? Yes. That's where the Pixar feels come in for me.
Yeah,
but
agreed.
throughout the movie, I didn't have those same Pixar feels that I've necessarily had with other Pixar movies. So I'm going to give it a 7.5. On to you, Emily.
Very cool. You know, one of the things we didn't talk about was Little Gusto. Like,
Oh yeah, Ghost Gusto.
Ghost Gusto. He is
Oh,
so
I didn't even think
cute.
about that.
He's actually one of my favorite characters because he definitely is what Remy needs when Remy needs him. You know?
I love how
weird
self-aware
concept to
he
me.
is. He's like, I'm a figment of your imagination. How would I know?
And he knows it too. And he's
Yes.
like, I know you're a figment. Why am I listening to you? And he's
Right.
like, I don't know. You're the one imagining me, right?
That was actually kind of a little bit weird for me, too. I don't know if I necessarily needed Little Gusto in there.
He was so cute and chubby.
And he took so many forms.
He was funny when he was
all the
talking about
cardboard
his
cutouts.
burritos. Yeah,
He
yeah.
was, oh my
That was
God.
funny.
That whole thing was so funny. How he was like, he had the different accents and
Yes.
stuff.
That was funny. I like that part.
That was so funny. I know this isn't really a part of my rating, but I would like to give the rating of one of our listeners, actually. When we posted our graphic originally for Ratatouille, one of our avid listeners and really amazing followers, the two inspirations from Geeks Who Eat from Scottsdale, Arizona,
Ooh.
they posted on our picture and said that this was one of their number 2 Pixar movies. And so Geeks Who Eat, they're a couple of geeks who like to eat. That's what, that's
Yeah.
what they've tagged themselves as.
We
And they're
like
the-
eating, too.
They're a food and blog site, and they were the 2018 nominee in the Arizona Foothills for Best Local Food and Blog Site.
Oh, you
So
go,
I think that's
Geeks Who
really
Eat.
cool.
That's cool.
But they wrote on our thing that this was their second favorite movie, and I asked them, you know, like why do you like it so much? And they were saying that they always have liked cooking, and that they were always kind of like afraid to start a food blog. They were a blogger for another Disney site, but that after watching this movie and hearing about like the yes, anyone can cook, you know, you just need to be fearless, like in your attempt to
Yeah.
be great. That they pushed forward and went for it, and now you know, look at them being nominated for Best Food Blog Site.
Go
I think
for
that's-
it.
You guys
Geeks Who
go.
Eat.
Hey, if you're ever in, the Turlock area, cook us some food.
You can cook for us, but we can also go eat together.
Yes.
So whatever you would
That'd
like
be
to
great.
do.
We're,
And we can watch a Disney movie.
we're not Geeks Who Eat, but we are a few Geeks Who Eat.
We actually are geeks. Who
We
like
are
to
geeks. Who
Hashtag
eats?
always snacking.
Yes.
Snacking.
We will always snack on the foods that you bring.
Yes. Well, we're excited to hear what you guys think of this episode, Geeks Who Eat.
Yes. So for me, I will say that I'm going to give it a solid 8.5. That's actually more than solid, I feel like.
Yeah,
Because
that's good.
I really enjoyed it. For my first viewing, I guess I didn't know what to expect, so I didn't go in with expectations, which was really good for me. Even though the rats, as you know, killed me, the rest of the story was just so well done.
Yeah.
And I appreciated the fact that there was Pixar and Disney magic. So this was, I think Michelle said that this was the first
Yes. This,
Pixar movie.
so when Disney bought Pixar, this was the first movie actually produced by Disney after that sale had gone
by Walt
through.
Disney Productions.
Well, and it's so funny to me because you can tell, and not in a bad way. You can tell, but you can feel the Disney and the Pixar magic, like the magical pieces from each of those companies and plots. You can feel it, and I think that was really cool. And I really enjoyed it, and I'm glad that we ended up watching this one because I said I've never seen it before.
Oh yeah, I'm
really nice.
super happy we watched this movie.
This is good stuff. Luis?
Your turn, Lou.
All right, so again, I had to look past the ratness of this whole thing.
The rattiness.
Ratness is a verb now, or an adjective. I
That's
mean,
the ratness.
With that said, I really, 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 really enjoyed this movie.
Really, really, really.
How
much.
many
that's a lot of
times?
reallys.
No, I really did enjoy it. No, but really,
Stop.
my rating for this movie is actually a 9.
Ooh.
Now, with that said, I'm at a bit of a predicament, listeners.
Oh, why is that, Luis?
Is this
I
a-
really think this movie is now going to push one of my top 5 out
You can't
Oh my
do that.
God.
You don't have any room.
and take
New top 5.
You don't have any room.
thus the statement of pushing one out, thereby creating room.
Is that
Somebody's
allowed?
jumping to 6.
I don't know the rules about making a top 5, but I think you could just eject one.
He's pushed the eject button. He's
Yes,
out.
All right.
yes. I
This
have
is
a
his
problem
list.
though, listeners, because I can't quite remember my top 5.
Oh my God.
With that said, I pose a contest for you guys this week.
Contest.
Oh.
Doo-doo.
Oh, I got it.
That was a really lame drum roll of me.
Whoever can be the first to comment on our Instagram page what my top 5 movies have been since we began this podcast.
His accurate top 5.
Which, by the way, I have
Before
mentioned.
Ratatouille.
Which, by the way, I have mentioned.
Yes, you have.
Please go ahead and comment and remind me what the top 5 are so I can give the boot to one of them and replace it with Ratatouille. And the first one to respond with the correct names of those movies will be receiving a prize from us
Ooh,
at the
yes.
Walt Vault
That's right.
Yes.
podcast.
You will be getting
At the Walt Vault podcast.
We'll
So
be
you guys
sending
can
you a
comment
surprise.
that on our Ratatouille announcement page. So each
Yes.
week we send out, we post an announcement of the episode. So you can write Luis's top 5 there.
because he
Please.
can't remember.
And honestly, can't really remember either.
I don't.
I don't
I
keep
just
track of his
know
top
I'm
5.
passionate about that top 5. I just don't know what they are. I just know they're my top 5.
Oh,
there's only 13 movies for you guys to look.
It's
through,
not that
it
bad.
shouldn't
Not
be
bad.
That hard. If you listen to
And you'll get
most
a
of the
prize.
episodes,
So, yay.
Prizes
Yeah.
are fun.
prizes are fun.
Ooh, that's fun.
I actually want the prize. I'll be honest.
I know. I'm like, can I participate? I'll go listen to them all and figure it out.
No, none of you can participate.
Gosh darn it.
Only the viewers.
Thanks.
All right.
Well,
Well,
listeners.
you guys, if you
Yeah, listeners.
if you do want
If
some
they're
prizes,
watching the YouTube version, they are looking at the computer and looking at some slideshows while they are listening.
Actually,
to it.
they're
Oh,
looking at one
it's a
picture.
blank
Yeah,
screen.
It's not a blank
of a
screen.
it's a picture.
It's the poster of the movie. You can see right there where it says Ratatouille.
Ratatouille.
Yeah,
Ratatouille. But if you guys do want some prizes and don't and happen to miss your chance on Luis's top 5, we are starting a Patreon.
Woo!
A Patreon. If
Boom.
you don't know what a Patreon is a website that we set up where you can come and contribute to help support our podcast. This podcast is super fun to do, but it does cost us a tiny bit of money. So if you contribute, you help us keep the lights on, help us pay our licensing fees and submission fees and all that kind of good stuff.
All the fees that Emily had no idea were associated with said podcasting.
There's a few fees there, and if you
And Emily's making Andre pay all of those fees.
we would do it anyways.
it's okay. She does all the social media, so
We have a great system of hierarchy on our podcast. Luis does nothing, and we do everything. He just left the room, so I can say that.
Luis reads the bio at the beginning of the podcast, and we thank him for it. So, you guys, if you would like to help contribute, you can head over to our Patreon, patreon.com/thewaltvault, and you can contribute a tiny amount of money to help us out, as low as $1 a month. And with that, we're going to give you some special goodies.
Ooh, good.
If you contribute just $1,
Goodies.
if you contribute just $1 per month, we're going to start doing a post show where we can discuss some of the more adult-oriented topics of the movies that we
Because
discuss.
let's be real, there was a moment earlier on this podcast where I was going to say something and then I didn't. And I made up a new word for it.
Sometimes in an effort to be family friendly, we have to kind of censor ourselves as young adults here.
Young adults.
Yeah, we're getting to older adults, aren't we?
Yeah.
Shut up! No, we're not. I'm definitely a young adult.
We're in our 20s. We're fine.
So if you submit just $1 a month, you'll get access to our new post show podcast, which will be titled something. We haven't.
We have some really funny names.
Some fun names.
But we haven't decided yet.
Yes. So if you submit $1 per month, then you'll get access to that podcast, as well as if you submit $5 per month, you'll get the podcast. We will give you a shout out, and you might be getting a special prize in the mail.
Who doesn't love prizes?
I like buttons.
Prizes.
Oops.
That's the prize. You may have seen our
Awkward.
buttons.
Boom. Well, and I think that this is a really good first week to talk about the post show because next week's episode will be what, Andre?
We're watching Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
So excited.
The hybrid live-action / animated film.
Which is funny because I never necessarily think of it as a Disney movie, but there's totally a ride in Toontown
Oh, yeah.
about Roger Rabbit.
Well, there's Toontown.
Right. The
It's
whole
Disneyland.
Toontown is...
You know?
I'm
Who
so
Framed
excited
Roger
for
Rabbit?
this movie, you guys.
So this movie, the reason that we bring it up, I mean, on top of the fact that we totally are excited to watch it, and it's going to be our next featured episode, is that it was originally produced under Touchstone, and like Michelle said, there is a ride in Toontown, but there are some crazy adult themes in this movie.
Right.
So in an effort, like he said, to stay family friendly, we will make sure that the episode is still nice and PC, but the after show... We'll talk about some of those other themes that go on in the movie.
Some of
Get a
those
little
other
crazy.
themes.
So, move
and-
your kids out of the room when you listen to the post show.
Yes. Heads up. I've only seen this movie once, and I'm not sure if necessarily everybody has seen the movie Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but you're in luck because it's on Netflix right now.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
it is.
watch it, and you'll be all ready and prepared for our next week's episode.
And you'll love it because it's
And you'll love it, I
hilarious.
bet. Yes.
And with that will be our first post-show episode.
Can't wait.
So, go over to patreon.com/the Walt Vault and, contribute. You don't have to contribute, obviously. We're not asking you. The podcast is not going to be paid now. The podcast,
we free.
The podcast will always be free. But that extra...
We're still cheap dates. We
yes,
promise.
Yeah.
But that extra show and the prizes will all be, within the Patreon. So check us out there.
Woo!
Is that it?
That's it.
That's it.
Sign us off,
That's
love.
the end of the podcast. So you guys, if you
friend love.
would like to,
Sign us off.
if you would like to keep
Sign us off.
in touch with us, head on over to Instagram. We are at the Walt Vault Pod. That's where all the action is happening. That's where you vote. That's where you do all the good stuff. But you can also follow us on
All the
Twitter.
goodies.
All the goodies. You can also follow us on Twitter at the Walt Vault Pod, or you can like us on Facebook at the Walt Vault Pod.
Remy's dad is not a Disney dad.
Oh,
Not a Disney dad.
non-Disney dad. If you want to ask us a question, feel free to do so. You can send us a DM on any of our social media platforms, or you can send us an email to contact@thewaltvaultpod.com, and we may just read your message on the show. The Walt Vault is available to subscribe to on YouTube, Stitcher, Google Play, and, of course, iTunes, where we encourage you to leave us a review and a star rating because that really helps us out, and we appreciate all that you do for us in listening. So please, subscribe.
You sound like a rat there.
I know. Sign off before you get any higher. You're gonna lose your voice.
We'll see you next week on the Walt Vault. The vault is now closed.